This week on Hey, did you see this one? Caylen is going to take over
I'm running the show.
He's going to be hosting. So if this episode ends up being 30 hours long, that's why.
That's only because I ramble on sometimes and don't finish sentences. Can I do a little cheers? This is there we go. A little cheers.
Sentences are overrated. Cheers.
Charles,
cheers, gentlemen. Give me 2 seconds. Let me just fix the camera a little bit.
This is our first episode from the actual Hey, did you see this one account, which is interesting because it'll be cool to see who comes through. It might filter differently. This account only has about 106 followers right now.
Hopefully, are any of them people we know?
No, because this is my old Blossom Buddies Instagram. So there's a lot of crossover from my Instagram where we typically do the show from. But the thing here is it's a lot. The way that I was getting followers was I was following a whole bunch of like TV, movie, sitcom accounts, and then unfollowing them, and the ones that stayed. It's a little bit of behind the scenes for you.
But you're a goddamn grifter.
I am a grifter. So,
sir.
Willie Waleed, if you're new here, please give us a follow. It helps us. What's up, Waleed? Give us a follow on this account, and you won't miss any of our updates. It does mean.
Let me know when we're going to have a game of pool again.
It does mean that I might have to go back to actually writing reviews for these on my own Instagram because it's going to be confusing to be like, go over to this other page. Although maybe I'll, push some people through. But this is a big day for the show. This is episode 24 now, I think.
We're doing it, Peter. We're doing it.
We've been going.
Playing with us, Peter.
So, Caylen, if you get tripped up, I'm typically the host. But since I don't want to,
Jason, you know what? You take a load off. You've been putting in a lot of work. It's time for you to kick back, relax, put up your feet, have a drinky, let your
rub
hair
some
down.
oils in your beard, some scented oils.
Very nice. And yeah, I remember you guys, I was rewatching the other one, and I think that's just something I say when I don't know what to say. When you guys were asking, I don't know what you mean by that. We also, Jason, did we mention that we hit our anniversary last month?
No, but I didn't realize we hit our anniversary because when we started this show, we used to do an episode every 3 weeks minimum, like at the most.
Yeah.
But our first episode did happen around now. Our first episode was Kiss, Kiss, Bang, Bang, I believe.
That is correct. The unsuspecting Christmas movie.
Right.
Wait till next month, folks.
We're going to be back in full force with many Christmas movies that are they Christmas movies?
You decide.
You decide in the chat. But today
is Hot Rod. I got to say this.
You guys are all pointing at the wrong thing for me. You're literally pointing at me.
It's Hot Rod.
Is your middle name Rod?
No.
How about now? It's got it. How about now?
Nope.
It's got to be one of these.
It's got to be.
This is where it is for me. The old Hot Rod, if you know what I mean. Ooh.
Am I pointing at it now?
No. No. Yeah. It's probably different for everybody.
Okay. Well,
but this will be the final one right here.
You're still not pointing at it, Jason. There you go. Now you are. Sort of.
Oh, man, are you making a swastika, Jason?
Oh, my God. Censor us now. Shut us down. We're all going to jail.
Well,
I gotta say off the top, though, gentlemen.
Yeah, okay.
This is quite possibly my favorite movie. I enjoy it so much, like from front to back. It's it's my style perfectly. Like just the random little things, the trying to make the same sound as a bell. Ding, ding,
Cool beans.
I don't recall.
No. Is it just going to be us quoting the movie for an hour?
Pretty much. This whole page is basically just quotes.
Just quotes.
But it's so good. It's full of so many quotables. I'm a little upset that I didn't hear about this movie or know about this movie when it originally came out in theaters. I randomly came across this movie during one of my random visits to HMV back in the day. I was like, oh, Andy Samberg, he's a funny guy. Let me get this. And then I watched it, and I was instantly hooked right in. Gentlemen, what was have you guys seen this movie before? And if so, what was your intro? And if not, what were your feelings watching it yesterday or today?
I have seen this movie before. I saw it in theaters when it came out. I was a pretty big fan of The Lonely Island, even when they were doing digital shorts.
Yeah.
Pre SNL, Just Two Guys Having a Good Time is one that comes to mind. If you're not familiar, I don't know if that holds up, but I remember laughing a lot when I was in post-secondary. But when I first saw this movie, it struck a chord in a good way. I thought it was extremely funny. I laughed throughout. I may have been under the influence of something.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I saw it in theaters, and then I saw it a couple times over the years since it came out. I think it came out in 2007.
I believe that's correct.
Quite some time ago. I maintained my fandom of The Lonely Island through SNL, and even that last movie that they made, the pop star movie, was all right. It wasn't
it was
the best
fine.
thing, but it was
okay. Yeah,
it had some moments. And Brooklyn Nine-Nine is pretty hilarious. So yeah, I think that I don't want to get too deep into the discussion about the movie just yet, because this is just our first impressions.
Keep it light. This is just the intro.
Okay. So yeah, when I first saw this movie, I thought it was the cool beans. I thought it was cool beans.
Cool beans. Cool beans.
Sending it over to you, Jason.
So I didn't see it in theater. I don't think. I would have been about, 2007. I was 22, 23 maybe. So I was partying a lot. So, but this movie struck me the same way. I'm with you, Caylen. This is one of my favorite comedies, just below Step Brothers. And in saying that, it's one of those comfort comedies that I can always watch and enjoy. I mean, when I originally saw it, it blew my fucking mind. I will say this time, I do watch this movie pretty often, every couple of years.
Yeah.
And I would have watched it this year regardless if we were going to do it on this podcast or not. But it didn't. Maybe it's because I had to be a little bit more analytical.
Yeah.
I couldn't just put it on and zone out. I was also stone cold sober because I, had it on in the background. It's trying to analyze a movie like this almost sucks the joy out of it, and that is kind of the problem. But I do, all the moments that I love about this movie, and like Steve said, I won't get into it too much until we get into the body of the episode. They hold up. They made me laugh. Some scenes went on for much shorter than I had thought, and some scenes went on for much longer than I had remembered. But that being said, I do love this movie slightly just below Step Brothers of two of my top 5 comedies of all time.
It was originally supposed to be for Will Ferrell
as Hot Rod.
Yeah,
yes.
Well, I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, he was supposed to be the main character, and I think once the Lonely Island guys took over, they revamped it quite a bit.
Yeah.
I think a prime example is at the end of the movie when he goes to heaven or whatever, when he's hallucinating and he sees the grilled cheese fighting the taco. He was literally supposed to meet Evel Knievel and have a heart to heart with him kind of thing. And I think is it Akiva? The guy who directed it. Yeah,
Akiva, yeah.
When he was reworking the script, as he did for a lot of the jokes in the movie, he was like, "This makes too much sense for the structure of the movie, and we're changing things so much so that it doesn't make sense that we have to make it something random that is a callback that isn't Evel Knievel because that makes too much sense for what we're doing. We have to make it something obscure."
And that makes sense for a Will Ferrell movie too, because look at Talladega Nights. Talladega Nights has lots of like weird, uncanny jokes that make sense in the plot. Where in this one, it's just a stream of consciousness, and it feels like a Lonely Island sketch, like an hour and 27-minute Lonely Island sketch.
I would say that it feels like 127 Lonely Island sketches lined up back to front.
Stitched together. Yeah, exactly. What's something funny in this kind of situation? What's something funny in this kind of situation?
That's my main issue with the movie. I don't dislike this movie by any means. I still enjoyed most of it, and there were some really funny moments that made me laugh out loud. I was watching it with two friends, which, as I say, watching movies with people, it gives you sort of like this clarity that you don't regularly have when you're by yourself because you're not thinking.
Have they seen it before?
I don't think either of them had seen it before. Actually, you know what? I think Brian said he had seen it, but not for a long time, and then my other friend Ryan hadn't seen it at all. Anyway, we don't need to talk about what they thought. They're not here. I mean, Brian is, but
Brian, let us know in the chat. Let us know in the chat all of your thoughts. I want to essay in the chat.
I didn't dislike it, but I did not enjoy it nearly as much as I used to, and I found myself a few times throughout being like, "Oh, it's surprising how much your sense of humor and your sensibilities in terms of what you think is funny can change." Yeah. Even in like a 2-year period, because I'm sure I've seen this a couple of years ago, like not that long ago, and I remember thinking it was much funnier than I did during this watch through. And there was a few moments that I legitimately was like, "Ugh, this is actually kind of painful to watch at this point."
Like what?
Oh, the cool beans part. I was like,
the cool beans part.
It wasn't
that went on
anymore.
It went on. It's the only time in the movie I like audibly cringed. And I don't remember, like, I love that style of, like, Tim and Eric, like anti-comedy. Yeah. But after watching actual jokes and then seeing what I thought was an anti-comedy bit be played like just straight comedy, my sense of humor has kind of evolved out of that. And it just kind of came off as, like, a childish, weird joke. But I'm sure in 2007, I was probably like, "Oh my God,
well, like, I know who people who still say cool beans, not because they were saying it before this movie, but because of this movie, it sort of put it into the lexicon of people's vocabulary, and they still say it to this day. Like, they'll text me, "Hey, you want to go to the park and hang out?" "Yeah, sure, I'll be there at this time," and they'll text me back, "Cool beans." Not because they used to say cool beans, because they saw this movie and it turned into a thing that they would say. And you would giggle like, "Oh yes, cool beans, hilarious."
It's layered like that.
Yeah, but like, and I tend to really enjoy absurdist comedy, but I think that I enjoy absurdist comedy when the universe itself is dictated by the randomness. So like something like Airplane or the Scary Movie movies, like where everything is absolutely bug nuts, down to like somebody walking in the background is wearing a ridiculous costume or something. Wet Hot American Summer, where like when they're like going for an afternoon in the town and they're doing like heroin and stuff.
They're doing heroin and
one of them does like a full stand-up bit, and it's like craziness. And like there are moments of that craziness in this movie, but it's not dictated by the craziness in terms of like the universe is crazy. It's just there are these weird moments where they are doing something that so far removes you from the reality that you're not. It's just there for the sake of being there, in my opinion. I liked the part at the end when he's, summoning all the animals, and he'd been summoning them throughout the movie. And I particularly like the way that moment is shot. I kind of wish that there was more stuff like that throughout the movie, that made you feel more like you're in a cartoon world, as opposed to like, oh, he just fucks his stunts up over and over again, and then there's a Footloose moment in the middle, which just like pulls you out of reality again. But anyway, like, I think that there's just there's like this disconnect between the story, which is, again, there's not much of a story.
It's a guy chasing his dreams and wanting to kick his stepfather's ass.
That's all you need.
Yes.
But I also keep asking throughout this movie, much like Step Brothers is clearly defined that they're emotionally stunted 45-year-old men who never left home. But in this world, they act like 13-year-olds and interact with 13-year-olds.
It seems like they're in middle school, yeah. Like they seem like they're middle school kids, yeah.
Is it a joke? Is that a joke that was maybe written out of the movie or something, where it's like Wet Hot American Summer, where they're clearly 30 years old but they're playing teenagers,
it's unclear, right? I wrote that down as well, being like, how old are they supposed to be? It doesn't make sense because they're clearly all in their late 20s, but some of them are dressed like children. Like
my theory,
dressed like a child.
My theory is that Dave, like Bill Hader's character, or not Bill Hader. Bill Hader.
Yeah.
I was thinking of John Heder there, the guy that played Napoleon Dynamite. That's why I got confused for a sec. But Bill Hader plays this character that is clearly the creepy guy who hangs around high schools and is just a little bit too old. And Danny McBride feels like his buddy, who's maybe a little bit younger, and they're kind of older. But then Rod is like 14 years old, and then Jorma, who plays his stepbrother, is literally like 10. And that's how they're emotionally presented to us. And then Isla Fisher, she's like, but then it's like, you went to college, so she's got to at least be 20.
Isn't that the thing? Yeah, didn't he say that? Like when she got back, you look different or whatever. Like I assume they're like early 20s is basically.
Well, and also when it's revealed
I think it's also supposed to be confusing purposefully. Like, I think that they've done this specifically so that we are having this discussion right now to be like, how old are they supposed to be? And then we all realize, oh, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. There is one more clue. There is one more clue, though, that it's like when they reveal that the stepfather had been sick for the last 20 years. And she's like, we've been keeping this from you for 20 years. And it's like, yeah, so he's clearly 20, but why do they interact with so many high school kids? Maybe it's just because this town is so small that literally everybody knows each other. So you would interact with 15-year-olds.
Sorry.
No, I was done. I'm done with this podcast.
But I think where they come from, like their town or whatever, also plays a role in their mentality, right? Love you, Bonang. With an exclamation point. Bonang!
What's up, Jordan? Good to see you. We're watching Hot Rod.
Hot Rod. Stick around.
It'll be funny. It'll be more funny than the movie. Us talking about the movie Hot Rod will be more funny than the movie Hot Rod.
That's a bold claim.
Oh, this dude's one of my favorite characters in the whole shit.
Okay, so let's talk about characters. Who's your guys' favorite character?
I'm going to have to say...
Here, let me dictate. Jason, you first.
Okay, I'm going to have to say, obviously, Rod, because he's the main character, but Dave's acid story is the best fucking moment in cinematic history. So and then when Jorma puts on the hat and then like glides off camera, I've loved that. I wait for that scene, and then he's skateboarding down the road, like down the street, all fucked.
And he does he turns around.
Yeah, I will say that during my watch through, that got an audible laugh from Ryan. Like Ryan, who was pretty stoic through the whole movie, laughed out loud during the acid scene when he put the hat on and like zipped away.
I mean, like so naturally.
Ryan with an I.
R-I-A-N, like Rian Johnson,
I mean, there's
the
Ryan
director.
2 different ways, but is there 2 different Ryans?
Probably. I don't know.
I don't know. Maybe in some different place.
Are you playing a character from Hot Rod right now? It seems like something they'd ask in the movie.
It's your front yard too. Just do it. Steven.
My favorite character is most definitely Ian McShane. He had the most moments that made me laugh out loud. But
which
Danny
one's Ian McShane?
He's the dad. He's
The stepdad.
He's Frank.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
His introduction, the first line he says in the movie is, "Never sneak up on a man who's been in a chemical fire."
Yeah, I wrote that down.
Very funny. Which I don't even know what it means. Like, does being in a chemical fire make you crazy? Does it make you paranoid? Does it make you more reflexive? Like, I don't know what it means, but it made me laugh.
He might have superpowers.
Definitely my favorite character because I think he had the funniest moments, and he is, like a classically trained Shakespearean actor in this like ridiculous bonkers cartoon universe, and he seemed like he was having just as much fun as everybody else. I love that he leg sweeps him as well. That was funny, but the funniest line in the movie to me, the funniest thing to come out of somebody's mouth, is Danny McBride when he says. He says, "No, I'm not getting a lot of good sleep lately. I keep having this recurring dream where I'm trapped in a castle and I have to fight 1,000 wizards. And the only way for me to beat them is to punch them in the face as hard as I can. And so I'm punching all these wizards and then I kill them all. And then all of their wizard wives come and they want to have sex with me." And it went on like for the perfect amount of time of like a ramble that I started laughing and then I continued to laugh and then it ended and I kept laughing afterwards because I was like, and then the thing that follows that up is the "I like to party" moment, which again it feels like an SNL digital short, which that didn't. We gotta
talk about that. I need to talk about that scene so much.
So what I'm saying is that the line that precedes that scene worked for me so much more than the actual scene after it, which I was like, it felt like a drawn-out joke, like like a Family Guy joke where they keep saying the same thing over and over again, and it's supposed to be funnier the longer you go. It felt like one of those, but it didn't work for me this time. And I also think that was in the trailer.
What about the so they're doing? He's like, let's do the introduction kind of thing. I'm Rod. I'm the stunt man or whatever. Or no, I like to party. Sorry, I like to party. Hey, I'm Dave. I like to party. He's like, no, I just said that. Why don't you say something else? I'm Dave. I'm the stunt man. Like, okay, no, never mind. But then at the end,
Kevin says, "I'm Rod. I'm a stunt man." It's like, you're not Rod. You're Kevin.
Kevin, I party. No, I know for a fact you definitely do not party.
I like to party.
After all of that, after telling all of them that they don't party, basically, only he parties, and then he's like, "Let's party." And let's is let us, so they're all gonna party. Like that bit. It's like one of those like, what kind of joke is that? What is that called? Like a misdirect?
Could be.
It's sort of a misdirect, yeah, I guess, because they're subverting. It's like
subversive,
a subversion,
yeah.
But I mean, is it subversive when you know it's coming? Like,
well, it's subversive. Like the first time you saw it, it might have actually played them as subversive, right? Like that's the problem with. If you don't, I've
seen this in long enough that I couldn't remember that stuff. So like,
that's true.
I'm like, okay.
And if you don't like this kind of comedy, like I could see somebody coming in and having the same conversation with us who doesn't have this sense of humor and being like, all of this is stupid. And somebody like me who this is my exact sense of humor and I'm 36 years old and I've seen this movie 20 times and I still laugh at the same jokes that I know are coming. Like when they do the downhill luge and the guy he smashes into the RV and the window smashes out, which this window smashing in this movie is all fantastic. The dude comes out and
genuinely sorry about the window.
Somebody's gonna get their dick hole smashed, and then Danny McBride's character fucking just beats the shit out of him. Like I knew that was coming.
Excuse me, Danny McBride's character yells, "I've been drinking green tea all day."
Yeah,
and then
beats this guy's ass. He's got like 2 feet on him. It's like that kind of shit makes me laugh out loud.
That is subversion. Like where you think that the big giant man is gonna like comedically beat up Andy Samberg, but then Danny McBride, who is like the shortest out of all of them, just sucker punches the guy right directly in the face, and then throws garbage.
Totally his hat now.
Yeah. That the beating up stuff didn't work for me so much as the dialogue. So like that's the other thing for me is that I think that I find dialogue a lot more hilarious than physical humor. As much as I did think that the fact that he was shorter and he punched the guy in the face and the guy dropped like a sack of shit was funny. It's the dialogue that he's yelling while he's doing it that works for me, I guess. And I found that throughout the movie, there were a lot of moments that were lacking clever writing, and it was all based around funny performances, physical performances, or just complete ridiculousness, which is fine. Like, again, absurdity is great, and there is a special place for it in my heart. But
Andy's face is elastic. To your point about like kind of the physical comedy of it, like just the faces that he makes.
Yeah. So like, I mean, there's a part where Frank, he's like, I will get you. He's like, you can't get me. It's too late. And he's like, I'm gonna get you. And then he like hits him with a cane in the face, and it's just like, psh! And then he yells like, I hope you enjoy being married to Satan, and runs away or whatever. Like, the line isn't that funny, but like his delivery of it is what elevates that moment, right?
And then the way he runs away, like all like super animated, like a Muppet almost. I feel like Andy Samberg's acting style sometimes is Muppet.
Yeah, but so again, like watching like all of Brooklyn Nine-Nine and everything that he's done since, I know that Andy Samberg is a capable actor on top of doing this crazy stuff, right?
Yeah.
Which means that he's probably got the chops to deliver some very funny dialogue, and he does a few times in this movie, but not enough. And like another one of the most like funny parts to me in the movie is when he asks out the woman at like the burger stall or whatever. And then Bill Hader is like, "Oh man, good job. I am green with jealous rage right now." It's funny because you don't expect him to say that, and it's like it's clever-ish.
Well, they were setting that up. They were setting that bit up too, because he's at the beginning of the movie. He kept talking to her.
Why do you call yourself Voltron?
Because it's badass.
Oh, I don't know, because it's super badass. One of my favorite deliveries, and I don't know what it is I like so much about it, but one of my favorite deliveries of Andy's or Rod, whatever, is when he's talking to Frank about getting the heart transplant or whatever. Like, oh yeah, 50,000. Who's gonna pay for it? You? He's like, no. Like, I don't know what it is, but that delivery I fucking love. So like, it's one of my favorite like bits out of it. So Jason, man, you mentioned Hot Rod. Steven, you mentioned Frank. I gotta say, I'm gonna give some love to Richardson. Is that
the guy who
comes
does the humping thing?
He's got a few things. So like, as soon as he comes on, he just puts a smile on my face. He's like, "Get out of the pool, Richardson. You're being a tool." It's like, there's no tool in this pool. Maybe if you let me join your crew. It's like, you don't do anything. Oh, don't I?
I love when he's handing out flyers and he's walking up to like a full family of people and throwing the whole stack of flyers at them. That shit gets that was some of the like me laughing out loud moments.
Yeah.
In my living room.
It is good to see him in the movie because he's one of the original. He was part of their internet stuff before they got in with SNL. Like he was in all their videos. Yeah. So like the first movie break they got, they're like, well, we got to put Richardson in. I don't know if that's his real name, but I assume it probably is.
It probably is. Yeah, that sounds like, that's cool. I haven't seen much. I've listened to all the albums. I know I can recite the turtleneck and chain, like back and forth, and back and forward. But like
forth and back.
They're original sketches before SNL. I don't think I've ever seen, and from what I understand, a lot of them are just like redone on SNL. Maybe.
Yeah, it's sort of like a Tenacious D or Flight of the Conchords situation where they had the bones of the song, and when they did the show, they either manipulated things or changed it slightly to fit into a music video because not always is something that sounds funny in terms of what you're saying is going to translate as well to screen. So, or they'll have to change it because we don't have the budget to have you bungee.
Steven, when are you going to direct some either music video or short film or full feature length, or what's up?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Maybe one day. I mean, yeah.
Yo, can I do something in it?
Yeah, sure. You can be Richardson. You can hump the air, and then one day, 10 years from now, someone else will be doing a podcast. And they'll be like, you know who I gotta give love to? Caylen.
And you just hump. Lonely Island started a really interesting SNL tradition that was sort of after they all left. They were writers on the show. Andy was an actor. They had the digital short. Then Beck Bennett and Kyle Mooney came, and they actually had internet videos that you can find. It's the same idea where a lot of the ideas from the original sketches came over to SNL. And now I was watching a recent episode of SNL, and they've got there's like a new trio of comedians, and they're doing some new, it's not called digital short, it's called I don't know, I can't remember. Anyway, but they're doing the same thing now, and they had, I saw some a really funny one where it's Pete Davidson is super famous now, and he's always dating. He's super popular, super famous. He's always dating he's somehow dating Kim Kardashian. What? After dating Ariana Grande.
He's probably very charming and funny in real life. Or
I believe it.
Or they're all attracted to mental illness.
That could be it too. But I think Lonely Island really, it all goes back to their biggest one, and it's Lazy Sunday. And you can see that spark, because Lazy Sunday would have come out just before this movie, probably. Literally,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, it was.
So
it was.
I do love
the pace. Yeah, it was close.
This movie reminds me of an era of early internet, and this kind of comedy sticks with me still, because this is the kind of comedy I'm looking for, in a TikTok.
Well, it does
this brand of humor.
It feels very ahead of its time in terms of this is now sort of the kind of humor that Gen Z encapsulates, where it's okay, I'm gonna have a person talking on screen, and then all of a sudden there's a freeze frame of a banana and somebody blowing up their microphone. It's
this movie isn't too bad. It's not too adult. You could have easily have seen this movie when you were 10 years old in 2007, and it fucking probably formed your whole comedic future. I was already formed. I was already 20 when this movie came out. So
it was different to us. It was okay, this is a new type of humor that I haven't seen before.
There was randomness to it, almost Jace, you saw so I started a page or whatever, ADD, right? Short little things, and so exactly what you're saying, a precursor to what's happening now these days.
And what you're doing on ADD comedy, or ad comedy as I like to call it, what you're doing is literally TikToks. So
I need help. I don't understand technology.
I'll help you figure it out.
What you gotta do is you gotta go to the App Store and you gotta download TikTok. It's free.
TikTok, the app, it's free. You press the install button, it installs right quick, very quick for you.
But I thought
it's free.
Isn't there some sort of battle because TikTok is from China or something?
No, the TikTok that you're watching in Canada is the American TikTok.
Yeah,
they're owned by a parent.
Like a conservative.
They're owned by a parent company which is Chinese, but they're not trying. They are. It's much worse than what you think. Actually, people think that they're trying to invade us here. They think. Hold on. Conservatives think that they're trying to literally invade the United States and North America through TikTok. It's much more malicious than that. They're trying to make us just look at TikTok as much as possible they're just. It's more to keep you on TikTok, and they want the globe to do it.
Yeah.
And Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg wants that too.
That's kind of the new currency, where you give your attention to.
Your time. Time is currency in this version of our weird future. So this is a podcast about Hot Rod. And
Hot Rod, when he feels all defeated and finds out that his dad never was a stuntman, and so he's not actually ever destined to be a stuntman. It's like, well, I'm just going to be a normal person and buy a grocery cart full of alcohol.
The biggest grocery cart filled with the most alcohol. And his friends see him and they're like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Come on, we got to get the band back together. So, Caylen, is your costume this week, you kind of do a reference to every movie. Is this a reference to Andy Samberg?
Too legit to quit.
His adulting getup?
I unfortunately didn't have any overalls, so I had to fall back on what I could do.
I have a jumpsuit somewhere that I really wish that I had access to because I wanted to put the jumpsuit on. Yeah.
Steven, quick question. Do you I saw a mannequin or not a mannequin, but like a thing, like a fashion model body thing. Do you make clothes or something?
No, my partner does cosplay and makes costumes.
Nice.
Yes.
I've seen them.
Yeah, they're good. They're very good at making cool superhero costumes and stuff.
I can do Johnny Depp characters pretty good.
I've seen that too.
I've seen your Benny or whatever his name was, Sam.
I've also seen your reverse Buster Keaton.
Yeah. There's a poster in Kevin's room that I wanted to talk about because I wasn't sure if it was a real poster or if it was a fake poster. And we all had a brief moment while we were watching the movie and was like, "You guys think that's real or fake?" Because it's sort of out of focus. They don't show it, and it's called Whoopee Boys.
Right?
Whoopee
yeah.
Boys.
Okay.
So I looked it up. I have never seen this movie or ever heard of it, but the synopsis of the movie was: two New York hustlers go to Palm Beach, Florida, and enroll in a charm school to please an heiress. Maybe we should do that movie one day, guys.
We should just make that movie. It's called Whoopee Boys. I don't think that's real.
Whoopee Boys. Yeah.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that's a hilarious fake poster for the background.
Instagram has green screen now, and I'm gonna make a movie.
Do it. I'll film something to put in your movie. I could be a guy on a TV.
45 minutes. I already had the script written. It's called Five's a Crowd.
I could be a guy on a screen. You want?
I'm down with that. It could happen.
Sweet.
Yo, technology.
I can be the narrator.
I could also be the narrator. We could be the dueling narrators.
Hey,
fighting.
Hey, no, it's my turn to talk. And then Caylen went down. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
No, that's not how you describe it.
Let me give it the old college try.
That's not how you describe it.
Some top scenes. When he's describing the plan of like, okay, we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this. Well, first off, there's the little interruption from Bill Hader's character, Dave. It's like, I got to go to work.
I got to go to work.
So they go with them, and then they do the different scenes, even though it's a linear, the explanation is all linear, but it's different scenes, so obviously there's different time lapses or whatever. But so I find that part funny. But then the best part is when randomly it's just this homeless guy saying like, okay, then we're gonna need to get a lot of carts.
Yeah. I did. I laughed out loud at that, and also during that scene when they're on the Zamboni, I just had a moment where I was like, so they let this burnout just work at this place, probably sharpening skates, which is already a lot for a guy who does acid all the time. Clearly, very stoner. But can I go get a job at a rink and then they teach me how to drive a Zamboni? Because I want to drive.
Yes, I'm gonna say yes.
I want to drive a Zamboni.
I don't think there's a Zamboni driving school. Also,
I bet there's.
I feel like those are probably really easy to drive. They're so slow.
That's true. You just go in a circle.
There's like a pedal and a steering wheel. That's it.
I'm an expert at golf carts, so I could probably drive a Zamboni.
Like a highly protected union job. You'd be like, I want to drive the Zamboni, and they'll be like, nope, I've been driving it for 40 years, and I have 15 until my retirement, so you can get the fuck out of here. You
probably need a certification that takes 6 minutes to get, the certification that you get for a forklift.
I certify you, Jason.
Thank you. I'm going to go to my Zamboni job now.
Yeah. You probably also have to like know how to like fill it and stuff and like do a bunch
Well,
of.
that's what I'm wondering. Have you ever seen a Zamboni go? They do it so perfectly. It's this like perfect circle that goes in. And then you got to know how to like.
Zamboni.
You got to know how to leave so it doesn't fuck the ice up too. You got to do these. You know,
if anything, you overshoot or like you know what I mean? Because you want to have your little brush thing beside where the last brush thing was. But I would do a little bit more.
But here's the thing about ice, Caylen. Here's the thing that you may not understand. When yeah, Steve's falling asleep. But when you get just the littlest bit of bump on the ice, a skate can hit that and kill.
Are you telling
me?
Are you trying to say that they're putting the thing right beside the thing?
Yes, that's why I wondered if you need to go to Zamboni school during this scene.
Really?
Dude, they can send a robot to give you your Uber Eats now. We don't need people to drive those.
But then why don't they have a robot Zamboni?
Because
all
robot. Zambonis are probably 30 to 40 years old. They probably haven't made a new Zamboni in a very long time.
It's like a what's called 64 still works just so you blow in it.
It's true. You shouldn't blow in your Nintendo 64 also.
They're waiting for all of the unionized Zamboni drivers to die so they can replace them with the robot Zamboni.
That's probably what it is.
My favorite scene in this movie was the acid scene, which I brought up already, and the downhill illusion scene, which I brought up already.
What?
But the final, like the best shot, in my opinion, even though it looks super fake, is when he goes off the jump for the 15, and then he's like, I'm doing it, and they cut to Bill Hader going, like in slow motion, and then they zoom out, and he's this far from the motorcycle, and they're both going like this, and they come back to Bill Hader, and he's going, no! Chef's kiss. That was...
I do like that he also gives a thumbs up, and I think it cuts to Danny McBride, and he says, don't give a thumbs up, no. Don't do that. That was funny. Don't do that.
You're creme de la creme.
I do like that they maintain that he never successfully does a stunt. Like it's
never.
Not a single stunt that he tries to perform succeeds.
That's a good point. I never noticed that.
Yeah.
Well, him getting beaten almost to death as the human pinata, I guess, is a success. But he always gets almost mortally injured.
Yeah.
I guess getting hit by a washer dryer while he has a bunch of foam on is a success.
I want to do that. I want to get dressed up in bubble wrap and pillows, and I want you guys to hunt me with a van.
No.
No, probably not going to do that. That seems highly...
I've got bubble wrap in my garage.
Can we all celebrate with bubble wrap next time we celebrate together?
Yeah, as long as you don't try and wrap yourself in it and get us to hit you with baseball bats or something.
Or even just
pop in my mouth.
Just pop some bubble wrap.
I'll do that, yeah. I wrote down birthday fire, but I don't remember why I wrote that down. So.
Well, one of the things in that montage was him at a birthday party, and he's just
but I can't remember
on fire.
Why I wrote it down.
Oh.
I'm like, I have something to say.
What would you think if you had that at your birthday when you were 6? Would you
I would have been
enjoy
stoked.
That or be scared?
I would have been so stoked. The thing that would have freaked me out though is when he tried to do a Harry Houdini barrel escape act thing.
Yeah.
Oh, in the water? Yeah.
Yeah, that nightmare. But the on fire bit.
You know, like claustrophobia?
I mean, I did think it was funny that Danny McBride pulled out a pistol to shoot the lock off at a birthday
party. My creme de la creme, the I think it might be my favorite scene, and I posted it today, is when he does the whole awkward, you look pretty. It's like, what? It's like, I said you look shitty. Good night, Dave.
That was probably the most quoted line of that movie for my friends after this movie came out, because it's so... I don't know how to even describe why that's funny. It's the macho douchebag character, but also we know that he's sensitive.
Brother from the Goonies.
What?
His thing that he was trying to go for was the big brother from the Goonies. he looks like he's got that like style or whatever going on.
Oh,
The
okay.
headband and the cutoff and then the sweats or whatever.
I was like, did I miss an entire Josh Brolin cameo?
It was a call out. It was a hack tip.
I did really like the scene after the flash dance or the dirty dancing dance montage in the woods. I really love the fact that he trips and falls down a hill for like a solid minute. That kind of comedy gets me too. Oh, dad band.
One thing
this movie had the dad band in it.
During that falling part, Ryan, during the movie, he turned to me and he said, I kind of wish that he fell through more biomes. Like he just wanted to see him like fall through like a swamp and like an Arctic setting and like just falling forever. That would have fit. That would have fit.
Yo, Vancouver has different. Vancouver, I think, is one of the only places that experiences like, I think 4 different types of like climates or whatever.
Yeah.
What's the word?
There's a few provinces in Canada that have multiple biomes.
Yeah, there you go. That's a word.
I think Calgary.
He said it.
Calgary has, I think, 4.
This was filmed in Vancouver, by the way.
Right.
I mean, Halifax, Nova Scotia, literally, maybe you don't experience 4 biomes, but you can experience 4 different weathers in an hour most of the time.
That's because you're by like the most open body of water still connected to the ocean in Canada.
Yeah. And also it's
ocean. Yeah.
It's just south enough that you get weird like warm summers that are wet because it's by the ocean. It's north enough that the nor'easter dips down and just fucks it up in the winter sometimes.
The wet summers are the worst. I can't. That's what does it for me. I'm wearing like shorts and a t-shirt, and I still like I walk a block and I'm sweating through all of it. And
it's been raining for 4 days, but it's like it's also 25 degrees, so you're sweaty and you're wet from rain and like it never dries. It never dries.
Yeah. Seems like it's like a Fallout city, you know, like like you're expecting some bog zombies to pop up, some ghouls.
Dude, Far Harbor, the Far Harbor expansion for Fallout 4 is just Nova Scotia. It's so fucking. It was crazy how I was like.
And I played it just after I had gone to your wedding, I think, and so I had just been to Nova Scotia. I'm like, I think that this is Far Harbor, guys. And then some guy at the gas station said, "Whatever you say, smooth skin." And I was like, "Oh my god."
In Truro, Nova Scotia, somebody called you a smooth skin. Yeah, that tracks. You were in deep Cole Harbor, and somebody called you smooth skin. Yeah, that tracks.
That sounds like a compliment.
I mean,
no, it's a racial slur against non-ghouls.
Yeah.
Caylen,
Hoy.
You're the host of the show. What part of the show are we on?
We are actually getting very close to wrapping up. Thank you for bringing it to my attention, Jason.
Well, I will tell you though, we didn't start just before. No, just hold on. I will say, we usually go 10 minutes over, and we didn't actually start the show until about 10 after.
Right.
Just wanted to put that out there. I want Steve to suffer a little bit more because I know that he doesn't like this movie as much as we do.
Yeah, it's not that I don't like it. It's that I don't like it as much as you guys. This isn't a dirty work situation where I'm like, this movie's repulsive. Like, I'm like, this movie's fine.
It has very minimal. It does have a little bit of like homophobia in the, like that's about as far as it goes. But when the dad calls him a pussy and a homo, there's a little bit.
Yeah, that was juvenile. But everything, like that's not homophobia. That's just like a 13-year-old would say that kind of thing.
All right, Steven, I got one. Tell me, I know you like this one. When he calls, what's Isla Fisher's character's name?
Denise.
Yeah, Denise. Yeah, good night, Denise. He calls Denise. Was it Jonathan answers, and he's telling him that. He's like, okay, you gonna write this down? I was like, yeah. And then he waves his hand in the air. He's like, are you actually writing this down, or are you just waving your hand in the air?
That was good.
And he goes,
I made a note of that.
I'm totally writing it down. Yeah.
I'm totally writing it down.
They did have a
I
deleted scene, so I have, as you can see from this image here, the DVD, and so I enjoyed the commentary and some deleted scenes. They had like or extended, I guess. So, or no, an alternate. So for that scene, he's like, "Are you actually going to tell her, or just say it was the wrong number?" And then like, because when he's done with the phone call, she comes out, I was like, "Who was it?" He was like, "Wrong number."
Wrong number. Yeah. I like Will
I
Arnett. He was not.
yeah.
He wasn't as funny in this movie as I hoped he would be, because I had forgotten that he was in it. And
Nice.
He played like a straight jerk that had some quirks.
well,
He didn't have that like funny. He wasn't like so over the top that he was funny. He was just a fucking villain, like a
Villain, yeah.
like a villain.
That's one of the other issues that I had with the narrative of this movie, was that there is no true antagonist. It's like
stepfather.
Listen,
No,
I'm not done. I'm not.
Yeah,
done.
Steve's gonna lay some facts.
All right, hit me with the facts.
The issue is that Frank is not enough of an antagonist to be an antagonist, so they had to add an additional antagonist, which is Will Arnett, on top of the antagonist of Time.
Two half antagonists.
It's like there's 4 antagonists all working together to create
Who
an
are the
antagonist.
other two?
Huh?
Who are the other two?
Time is one.
Time?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
There's also the stupidity of all the characters working against them. He's also an antagonist to himself.
I'll allow it, yeah.
He raises a ton of money, and then he has a freak out
Bucks
that everybody's laughing at him, and then he has to give all the money that he had made away again because he couldn't handle his emotions. So he's also an antagonist.
I have that problem myself.
Yeah, and this is also sort of weirdly a more realistic depiction of life. Whereas like nobody has a real antagonist in life. Like you don't have a nemesis in your life. If you do, you're probably
would you say it's maybe one of the most perfect movies ever?
I would never ever say that.
I do have several nemesis. They don't know that they're my nemesis. I wanted to actually bring up something about, since you mentioned Denise a moment ago, there is a huge, and the plot of this movie, there's a huge connecting point to like the Denise character and the finale of the movie post, like all this stuff that's happening right now where he does the jump. Like the jump is a means to an end to fight the dad, and that is the story, right? You got to raise the money so the dad can live and get the heart transplant or whatever, and then they can have the ultimate punch. And the reason why he does the ultimate punch is because there's a scene that we didn't talk about.
Best
where
move ever.
Denise takes him down to like the lake. It makes total sense that it's British Columbia now because they're fucking clearly at a lake.
They needed the redwoods and they needed a lake, a tranquil lake.
Yeah, so
to rub body oil on.
They have a real like Karate Kid moment where she's like, I'll teach you some things that you can use on your stepdad. And she fucking like just does like a bunch of kung fu at him. And he's like, oh, I've learned everything.
Is there a move that makes them crap their pants? There is.
Yeah,
I gotta go now.
That she's like, I'm not gonna lie to you, Rod. There is such a move, but I can't teach it to you yet.
But then you fast forward all the way to the very end of the movie, and he uses.
I would never fast forward through this movie.
Oh God!
For the sake of this conversation,
rewind and not watch it again.
Oh man!
I'm just kidding.
But he uses the fucking move on his stepdad, and the stepdad's like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And then falls and then credits. And then there's an after credits scene. Did you guys stay for the after credits?
I did.
Oh, I did not.
All it is, it's him bowing to his motorcycle. It's just like a big like wide shot of him, bowing from the side, like just from the side, bowing to his motorcycle. Just like 2 seconds.
For the picture.
Sweet.
I also feel like Ian McShane should have said, "You got to be shitting me," when he fell down. I just feel like it would have been better. But I'm not a comedy writer.
You should be, because that's 12 out of 10.
I don't know. There's a couple things that like I really liked. I liked when he's tasting the jelly beans at the beginning, just because that's something that I used to do.
Yeah.
I did make a note of that.
Me and my sister used to do that when we were kids. We'd get those like where they give you the little piece of paper to know what jelly beans they are, and then we would try and guess it. It's just like a kid thing, which is also, again, playing into like, oh, they're literally supposed to be children, maybe, because they're doing things that I did when I was a child.
They're country kids.
They're country kids. I liked,
and no disrespect.
Right, yeah. I also liked when the irony of him when he's doing the pool jump, and he's like, "Please don't let me embarrass myself in front of Denise." And he's at a local pool on a motorized moped with pedals in like a full stuntman gear in front of a bunch of children, and he's worried about embarrassing himself in front of her when he's just been embarrassing himself the entire time.
I believe it. I totally believe that scene.
I didn't say I don't believe it. I'm saying that I appreciate the irony of somebody worried about embarrassing themselves when they're clearly already very embarrassing for everybody else around them. You're familiar with cringe, right?
Me? No. I love everything.
He's like his character is just like a walking cringe mannequin. Like
Yeah.
a mannequin designed for cringe.
An android designed for cringe.
You guys don't live like that?
No, I live on the side of I'm always pointing out cringe.
Yeah, and I also am severely affected by cringe. So when cringe is happening around me, I'm one of those people that is like, ugh, like I can't handle
like that.
Like, it makes me actually feel nauseous, or like I get hot in my neck and my face, and I'm like, I can't handle.
But here's the thing, Steve. You got to fly directly into the sun on this one, because what I've done is I've built up a nice cringe layer, where it just allows me to see cringe and like identify it. I spent a lot of time on the r/cringe subreddit.
I had to get rid of that. It was affecting me too much.
It can be real bad, and
I think it ranges. Cringe?
The thing about it is that
is Andy Kaufman cringe? Did you just ask me that question, Caylen?
Well, I'm trying to understand what you guys think is cringe.
No, he invented anti-comedy. He's like the precursor, like Tim and Eric and stuff.
Exactly. So what are you guys talking about right now?
There's a fine line between cringe and anti-comedy.
It's kind of hard to define it as well. Like you gotta be on the other side of cringe to know when you're there. But the line between cringe and funny it can be blurred sometimes. It can be blurred.
Like look at The Office is a prime example, and as that show ages, the cringes become bigger. And like the Cool Beans moment in this movie, I was like, this doesn't even fit in this movie. None of this is what they've been going for this whole time. But I remember watching that scene originally, and like Steve was saying, like it created a whole generation of people who were like suddenly saying Cool Beans as a reference to this movie. But Cool Beans is like, I said Cool Beans before this movie. Unironically, I was just like Cool Beans.
Yeah, it wasn't. The phrase wasn't created for the movie, but the movie created a generation of people who use it unironically. And some people probably still say it and don't even realize that they're quoting this movie anymore. Like it's now just so ingrained into like their vocabulary that they've forgotten where they started saying Cool Beans from. A lot of people probably started saying it from this movie. But that scene, like it's clearly one of those things where they filmed the two of them saying Cool Beans in different ways for probably like an hour, maybe, half an hour, 45 minutes to an hour. And then they took a bunch of the little segments of them saying Cool Beans and edited it into a song. And like they're doing weird faces and like beans or whatever. Like, okay.
But the thing is like Tim and Eric around the same time did a lot of those little moments where they would just edit.
Yeah. Like
but it worked.
DJ scratching a record.
But it works on its own, because when you go into a Tim and Eric show or sketch, you know that you're watching something that's intentionally anti-comedy. You're laughing at the fact at how not funny it is. You're not laughing at how cringy it is. You're laughing at how far it strays.
Okay, I have a good example of what cringe is. It's one of the first examples of like me realizing like, oh, this is supposed to be funny. Like the people making it thought this was so funny. but it's so bad that it's like the antithesis of what humor is supposed to be, and I feel uncomfortable watching it. And it was a video that came out where they made a music video of spoofing the song Man Eater. That song like, oh, here she comes. She's a man eater. It's that song, but they changed it to Death Eater, and it's like a person dressed up like Snape and like whatever, like what's the bad guy's name? Voldemort. He who shall not be named.
Bring Harry Potter into the equation, and I hate it immediately.
Well, the thing is that like I've seen things that are funny involving Harry Potter, and this was meant to be funny, and I saw it, and I was watching it, and I was like, I can't finish this because it's making me so uncomfortable that these people somewhere in the world made this and are like, we're so funny, upload to the internet, and like, explode, and it's like cringe. The whole world cringed at it. And I guess to answer your question, Caylen, a lot of cringe is somebody trying very hard to be funny or doing something that they think is extremely funny and not getting the reaction that they want. Like the whole plot
is it
of
possible
the Joker
that cringe is subjective?
That he was cringe. Sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. But however, I will say that cringe is subjective in so much that we can all agree on what cringe is. So it's not as subjective as like regular comedy, but a majority of people can see something cringy and be like, that's fucking cringe. Whether it affects you or not, that's where the subjectivity, is that a word, comes in, Yo,
every word's made up.
Does that? That's true. Does that make sense?
Made up, but also, Jason's subjectivity is a word that we recognize as a real word.
Perfect. So, do you see what I mean, though?
That one on the Scrabble board, you just got like 55 points. I don't even know how Scrabble works.
I mean, it's high. It would be a high point because it would be like a 7 or 8 letter word. But that's what I'm trying to say. Like, you can agree with everybody that something is cringe, but you can't agree with everybody that something is funny. You will have 3 people on a podcast appreciate a movie in different ways, comedy-wise, but we can all agree that, things are cringe, but how much it affects us on a cringe scale. There's a cringe scale, there's not really a comedy scale. That's my opinion, which also is just my opinion, which is subjective.
All opinions, just like comedy, are subjective, and it depends on your mind space. Like, I could watch this movie 2 weeks from now, be in a completely different mind space, and think that it is absolutely hilarious, which I did the first time I watched it. And I want to underline the fact that I do not dislike this movie. I do like it. I thought there were lots of moments in it that made me laugh, but there are lots of things that just don't work for me anymore, and I don't think that they ever will.
I think we're almost in behind Jason. If this is the movie right now, I think we're almost at the final little end credit snippet.
So what I'll say, Caylen, is I fast forward this movie to 27 minutes in, leaving an hour left. So if I was hosting this episode, I would bring us to the final thoughts portion.
I was gonna bring us to the final thoughts, but first I wanted to acknowledge the end credit thing, but then we talked over it.
Well, no, it's gonna happen right now.
No, it's already gone.
Oh.
It already happened. We were talking.
He bows at his motorcycle. Who fucking cares?
I was about to make this episode was about to be perfectly enclosed or whatever, and then we talked about enclosing it, and now it's gone. But I digress. We are starting to get to the end of what we like to do here. Talk about movies. Introduce you guys to movies that, maybe you've never seen them before. You're like, oh, that sounds interesting. Let me check it out. Thanks for telling me about that movie. Let's see. So who shall I start with to wrap things up? Are you guys raising your eyebrows at me, trying to win my attention? Should I go last?
Yeah, it's still the Caylen's Cavalcade of Stunted Comedies or whatever.
Yeah, this is your last movie of the month, man.
This is the cherry on the cake or whatever. This is the final. This is the end of our Stunted Comedies.
Yeah, the old saying.
It's the ice cream on the cake.
It's the old mochaccino on the pie.
And
See, that was
with a little bit
cringe.
of chocolate.
That was cringe. That was an intentional cringe, but you can all agree that it was cringe, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, but is intentional cringe funny then?
Oh, for fuck's sakes. We're going to be here all night if we try to
Yeah, we
crack
can't
this
break
chestnut.
down cringe.
You know what's a
We
really
should
good
do
combo?
a whole separate discussion about cringe comedy and talk about
Yo,
it.
stick around for the after show, folks, where we try to talk about cringe.
Nope.
I gotta work in the morning.
So the way that my cameras are positioned, Steve, let's hear from you first. What's your final thoughts about the movie, and where do you stand with it?
I mean, I think I've made it clear throughout that there was a time where I really enjoyed this movie, and times that came after it where I rewatched it a few times, and I always laughed throughout. This particular viewing, I didn't laugh as much as I had in the past, but that doesn't mean that I didn't enjoy bits and pieces of it and appreciate bits and pieces of it. One thing that I took away from this movie is that Danny McBride is maybe playing the same character that he plays in Tropic Thunder.
In every single movie ever.
No, specifically Tropic Thunder, where he's a pyrotechnician and he's like blowing things up, and I'm like, what? He's maybe just the evolution.
Maybe this is what he did before that.
Also, Danny McBride, classically trained actor. He's a very good writer. He knows what he's doing. He just plays like a weirdo in most movies that he's in because he's very funny. But my issues with the movie are very semantic, and like I can talk about them, but at the end of the day, like if you think the movie's funny, you're gonna think the movie's funny, and it's up for you to decide. And I can sit here and tell you all the reasons that certain jokes don't work for me, but it doesn't matter if they don't work for me because it's about if they work for you. I prefer clever, funny dialogue in my comedies as opposed to randomness and physical, like beat 'em up kind of stuff. Like a lot of the comedy in this movie is reliant on having very actiony type violence, which it's not that it doesn't work for me. Like I love that leg sweep at the beginning when Ian McShane like sweeps Andy Samberg's legs out from under him. I also really enjoyed those two fights between the two of them. I thought they were very funny. But at the end of the day, most of my yucks came from small segments of dialogue that was leading into something that's considered a bit. So I'm like, oh, it's like the little gaps between the bigger pieces, like the cool beans moments and like the I like to party moments. Those are the things that really kind of shined for me in terms of humor. Story-wise, super simple. You're not going to get invested in the story of this movie, and if you do get invested in the story of this movie, then I don't know what to tell you, man. Simple, Samuel.
Steven, ladies and gentlemen, Steven.
Yeah,
that was very diplomatic.
So I'm going to give this a 2.5. I would watch it again to be interested in my own reaction at a later date to see if I would increase or decrease. Is my comedic value going to change in a direction that makes me think this is more funny later or less funny? I don't know. Like your sensibilities change over time, and sometimes they're going to go in one direction or the other. So I would be interested to watch. Can I sign up for
that viewing now? Can I pencil myself in for that viewing when it comes?
Yeah, we should do a reaction. We can do a reaction where I watch it with you two instead of Brian and Ryan. Like they had reactions to certain things in this movie that
maybe we do a commentary.
When Ryan was like, I would have preferred to see him go through different biomes. Like that's very that's very funny and a good observation. I would have liked to see that as well.
Thank you, Steven.
You shouldn't clap at me. It's kind of rude.
Oh, what? I didn't mean it like that.
Okay. It's just very loud. It sounds like you're telling me to shut up.
No,
He's hosting.
I know.
I'm trying to.
He has a very particular style.
I'm trying to do like
when I host,
came out that way.
Foghorn that I'm gonna pull, and I'll be like, all right, that was Jason.
Play him off, keyboard cat. Do, 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 do.
There could be an element of that to it, but I don't mean it in that way. And this is, we're recording right now.
I'm not offended.
He's learning nuance. He's learning the nuance of hosting. It takes a minute.
You know what? I might have something. Like
a starter pistol?
Or something.
Oh, no. Well, I didn't know you meant like a... Okay. I have ADHD. There's nothing to be ashamed of.
I'm not ashamed of it. I'm just... I apologize if my mannerisms aren't up to snub.
No, it's all good.
It's okay. I was just joking. Also, it was mostly because it was very loud in my ear, like because you slapped near the mic, so it like really it was very loud.
To make it fair, I'm going to clap for Jason as well, if that's okay.
Okay, that will make it fair.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what. I'm going to make this short and sweet because I pretty much went over it at the top of the show. But I love this movie. It's very similar to me for that. As kind of lost my train of thought there. What I meant to say is Step Brother. He goes like basketball, Step Brothers, Hot Rod. It's like probably my top three. Like this kind of comedy specifically, like kind of raunchy, but like kind of like random and weird. I think I'd like to make a movie recommendation to both of you because of this movie, and that's Tim and Eric's $1 Billion movie. If you've never seen it,
already been there.
Okay,
I've been there. I'm a billionaire.
I'm doing business.
I sell ghost swords. Even better.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of felt like that this time because I think there's been a longer time between the last time I saw Hot Rod and now. I am pretty sure I saw it 3 years ago, but like, I really enjoyed it, and I will always really enjoy it because, like I said, it's like that comfort, that sort of comfort food.
Yeah, I think we kind of called Benny and June. It's like a sick movie where you can sit down when you have a cold and put it on, and it makes you feel a little bit better. Yeah,
exactly. So I'm just gonna I pretty much. If you listen to this episode, I feel like I gave most of my thoughts on it. The scene that wasn't as long as I thought it was the acid scene. I thought that went on for longer, and the scene I didn't the cool bean scene was way too long, even though it was literally, and it was a bit cringe, but I do remember that did give me a sense memory of back when this movie came out, being like, oh, everybody says cool beans now because of this thing. But I'm gonna give it a 4 out of 5, honestly, and that's totally subjective. That's totally my opinion. But I feel very strongly about a 4.5 because I would put this movie up against any other one of these kinds of comedies, and I probably would like this equally or better than a lot of these sort of late night comedies, as they're called on Netflix.
Yeah.
Clap me out,
earballs, gentlemen. Watch your earballs. Jason, ladies and gentlemen, Jason.
You didn't do it nearly as close to the mic that time.
I tried to take your constructive criticism into account.
Well, I appreciate it.
And as we draw to a close, I love this movie. I love it a lot. My style is just the whole random. Ooh, look, it's a bee. Just out of nowhere, just things whatever. I love it. 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 I will agree with what Jason said earlier, where when trying to analyze it, made me lose a little bit of joy or whatever, enjoyment while watching it. But I still, the moments that I love, I still love. If you guys out there have never seen it, you should definitely at least give it a watch. For anyone who has seen it, you know what I'm talking about, and you love it, and watch it again as much as you want. I am going to be crazy tonight, and I'm going to give it 15 successfully jumped buses out of 20.
That's, we don't really, the scale is only because I made up the scale. So if you want to come up with your own scale, that's perfectly fine. And 15 out of 20, I think that works out to like a 75% or something.
You know what?
Yeah.
When I started to think about it, I'm like, no, just wait, I don't like that. See,
Wait,
when I said
don't you
what
want it
I
to be a
wanted
little bit
happen was
higher?
He crashed. He didn't actually jump. He crashed into the buses. But
He did
now
clear
that
the
I said it out
15
loud,
buses,
I don't
though.
like it.
I give it 4 partially resuscitated stuntmen out of 5. One of them died. He didn't make it.
I'm gonna
So
give it a 5.
therefore-
I'm gonna give it a 5. I'm actually gonna give it
Wow.
a 5. I'm gonna be crazy. We're wrapping up November. We're wrapping up Stunted Comedies. We're gonna transition into. Do you guys want to share the title of our next sequence?
Yeah.
Spooky Christmas, where we only do horror movies again.
and the same ones as Halloween.
You're
Yeah,
just
it's
going to have to
spooky.
stay tuned to find out, ladies and gentlemen. On that note, for Jason and Steven.
Wait, no, we're going to tell them what we're doing for real.
What?
Okay, never mind.
It's Christmas movies are they Christmas movies?
It's called
Oh, yeah.
Subverted. It's called Subverted Season's Greetings.
Subverted beatings.
What?
What?
Subverted Season's Greetings.
I love it. Do the thing again, Caylen. You were on a roll. Hadouken.
And on that note, thank you for joining us. Come back next week. For Jason and Steven, I'm Kellen.
For Caylen and Steven, I'm Jason. That's how fast you're supposed to do it.
Jason, for Caylen, I am Steven.
And I just got to ask. Hey, did you see this one?
Hey, did you see this one?
I did. I saw it.
Have a good night,
Hey, did
everyone.
you see this one?
No more, just once.
You got to do it more than one time.
Hey, did you hot?
For Caylen and Steven, I'm Caylen.
Steven and Steven, I'm Steven.
For Caylen and Steve, I'm Caylen.
I'm
you gotta end it. You're the host. You gotta.
Ends it.
You want me to do it? Oh, I
You
have
have
to do it. I have to.
Don't forget to save it, and don't forget to put an image on.
Okay, everyone. I'm not
Don't
gonna
delete
forget
the
any of those
episode.
things
Imagine
that
this
Do
was a
not
long
delete the
episode.
episode. I will quit this podcast.
I won't. I swear I won't. Here we go. Okay, bye. Wish me luck. Cross your fingers and toes.
Episode deleted.